It started with a single shoe, size 5, pink canvas, the kind a girl might wear to school, if she ever made it there. Officer Logan Myers bent down and picked it up gently, dust sliding off the toe like it had been waiting to be found. Nearby, the early morning wind kicked through the mesquite, the sun barely a smudge behind a curtain of dry Texas haze. Radar, his canine partner, froze, nose twitching, ears up. Then the low, deliberate growl. Logan followed the shepherd's gaze. "You got something, boy?" Radar answered with a sharp bark, already pulling ahead, his paws carving out a straight line through the brittle grass. This wasn't a routine border sweep anymore. This was something different, something bad. The call had come in before sunrise. Dispatch flagged it as suspicious movement near an abandoned ranch about 6 miles from the Mexico line. A rancher had seen flashes of light through the trees at 3 a.m., followed by silence. No vehicles, no people, just a wrong feeling. Logan figured it'd be coyotes, maybe smugglers, or worse, traffickers trying to sneak someone across without drawing heat. But a lone pink shoe changed everything. Radar was trained to track fugitives, drugs, weapons. But his real gift wasn't just what he could sniff out. It was who he could find, especially when no one else was looking. The dog cut left toward a narrow game trail, low branches snapping under his chest. Logan followed fast, heart pounding, instincts kicking hard. They'd tracked less with more. The sun crept higher, turning the brush to gold. Logan could feel the sweat between his shoulder blades, but Radar never slowed. Every now and then, he'd stop, circle a patch of dirt, then bolt again. 20 minutes in, they reached a dry creek bed. Logan saw them before Radar did. Tiny barefoot prints pressed into the dirt. Fresh. Then something else. A broken charm bracelet. Glittery letters still clinging to the wire. M-A-Y. His gut twisted. At the edge of the creek bed stood an old hunting shed. Rotted wood. Tin roof half collapsed. Radar charged ahead. Barney, talking loud now, pacing like he already knew. Logan drew his sidearm and approached the door slowly. "Border Patrol, anyone in there?" No answer. Just a rustling sound, low, like movement inside hay or blankets. He nudged the door open with his boot. What he saw would never leave him. She was curled up in the corner, knees to her chest, a ratty coat draped over her like a shield. Her face was thin, hollow, cheeks sunken from dehydration. Her skin was covered in dust and bruises, and her long dark hair stuck to her forehead in tangled clumps. But her eyes were wide open, sharp, watching. Radar didn't bark. He just walked to her side and lay down, pressing against her gently like a warm shield. She didn't flinch. She didn't speak. She looked relieved. "Hey," Logan said softly, lowering himself to one knee. "I'm Officer Logan. You're safe now, all right? No one's gonna hurt you." She didn't move, didn't even blink. Just looked at him like she wanted to believe him, but didn't dare yet. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a water bottle. "Here." Still nothing. Radar let out a low whine and nudged the bottle with his nose toward her leg. Finally, her hand moved. She grabbed the bottle, unscrewed it, and drank in small, desperate gulps. It was only then, when she shifted slightly in the light, that Logan saw it. Her belly, swollen, pregnant. She couldn't be more than 15, maybe younger. She still hadn't said a word when the EMTs arrived. Logan helped lift her into the back of the ambulance, Radar pacing beside them the whole way, tail stiff, eyes sharp. "Poor kid," one paramedic muttered. "Probably hasn't eaten in days. You see the bruises?" Logan nodded, jaw tight. He couldn't stop thinking about the footprints, the shed, the bracelet, and the look on her face. He'd seen that look before, on other girls, in other cases. It was the look of someone who'd trusted the wrong person and paid for it with everything. If this moment hit you in the heart, like it did Logan, you're not alone. We believe every animal has the power to protect, rescue, and heal. And so do their stories. Subscribe to Heroes for Animals on YouTube, where we bring you real tales of silent heroes like Radar, changing lives, one bark at a time. The hospital listed her as a Jane Doe. No ID, no phone, no memory she'd share yet. But Logan stayed behind for hours, watching her through the glass. She slept lightly, curled on her side, arm across her stomach like a shield. The doctor confirmed she was 6 months along. Whoever had taken her hadn't just trafficked her. They'd kept her, used her, and left her locked away like she didn't matter. Logan clenched his fists and turned to Radar. The dog sat quietly beside the vending machine, eyes never leaving the girl. "You're not done, are you?" Logan muttered. Radar thumped his tail once. The next morning, Logan came back with a worn T-shirt pulled from evidence, the one found in the white van 2 miles from the ranch. The shirt smelled of gasoline, sweat, and something floral. Cheap perfume. Maybe a woman had driven that van. Maybe not. Logan dropped it on the hospital floor, and Radar went to work. Nose down, circling, sniffing deep. Then he looked up and barked once. Sharp. Direct. He had the scent, and he wasn't letting go. Outside, the summer wind blew hotter now. Somewhere out there, someone thought they'd gotten away with it. Left a girl in a shed, 6 months pregnant, thinking no one would come for her. But they didn't count on a K9 with a nose for justice, and a partner who didn't know how to give up. The girl still hadn't spoken. Not a name, not a town, not even a whisper. Logan Myers sat outside the hospital room, one boot tapping the tile floor. Radar stretched out by his feet. Nurses passed by with soft glances, offering water or coffee. But Logan waved them off. He wasn't leaving. Not until she told them something. Anything. Inside the room, the teenager lay propped up in bed, arms folded across the swell of her belly. A tray of food sat untouched at her side. Occasionally, her eyes would shift to the window, like she was tracking something far off. Something invisible. Radar kept glancing toward her, his ears twitching every time she moved. He hadn't barked once since they found her. Somehow, he seemed to understand. This wasn't a moment for noise. It was a moment for staying close. They tried social workers, a translator, a trauma specialist. Nothing. Not even a flinch when they mentioned the baby. But then, Logan brought in the bracelet, the one from the creek bed. He laid it on her tray like it meant nothing. The girl looked down at it and blinked hard. Once, twice, then her hand reached for it. Slowly, like it was a ghost, she was scared to wake. She rubbed the letters like she was remembering how to spell. M-I-Y. Maya, Logan said gently. That your name? She didn't nod, but her grip tightened. That was enough. Teen, possibly 15, 6 months pregnant, trauma signs all over. Doesn't want to talk. No parents reported her missing yet. Detective Lorna Graves tossed a file onto Logan's desk the next day. She had 20 years of hardened eyes and a badge that had seen too many broken kids in too many backroads shacks. We're checking with ICE, DHS, and the local schools, she said. But nothing so far. She might be from further north, or she might not even be from this country. Could have been taken years ago. Logan shook his head. Radar picked up her scent less than 12 hours after that rancher spotted the light. She's recent. Maybe a week, tops. Then someone's looking for her, Graves said, or they're afraid of what she might say. Logan met her eyes. I didn't cease if she ever talks. Back at the precinct, Logan rolled out maps, old county line boundaries, drainage routes, oil access roads that hadn't been driven in years. He retraced every step Radar had taken through the mesquite. There was a reason she'd been out there. That shed wasn't a holding spot. It was a discard site. They weren't moving her. They were done with her. Radar pawed at the window beside Logan's desk. The same T-shirt from the white van lay in a sealed evidence bag. The scent hadn't led them anywhere yet, but Logan had a hunch. He knew that look in Radar's eyes. Frustrated, focused, still chasing. By Friday afternoon, Logan drove Radar out to an old orchard south of Del Rio. Word was, a white van matching their description had been seen leaving a gravel path behind the Myers peach farm around 2 a.m. that same night. Logan parked at the end of the trail. Dust floated thick in the late-day heat. "Let's work," he told Radar. The shepherd dropped low, sniffing hard, tail stiff. 10 feet in, Radar barked. Another shoe. This time, a child's sandal. Blue, sparkly. Way too small for Maya. Logan's stomach turned. Half an hour later, they found the fire pit. It was old, but not ancient. Ashes were still white. Logs still fresh burnt. Inside, blackened scraps of fabric and plastic ID cards half melted beyond recognition. Someone had tried to erase something. Or someone. Maya's eyes flicked toward the TV when Logan returned to the hospital room that evening. A cartoon was playing on low volume, but she wasn't watching it. She was just using it as background noise for her silence. Logan sat in the chair beside her bed. "You had a sister?" he asked. She didn't answer. "We found a little girl's sandal, near another burn site, not far from where we found you." No response. He leaned forward. "I know someone promised you work. Maybe told you it'd be safe. But it wasn't. You're not the first, but you could help stop the next." Maya blinked. Her hand moved slightly over her belly. "Did they take her too?" he asked quietly. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she still didn't speak. It was enough. Back at the station, Logan worked late, piecing together tip calls from other counties. A missing report filed 3 months ago in Lubbock. Another in Albuquerque. All young, all Latina, all vanished after answering ads about housekeeping or babysitting jobs posted in grocery store bathrooms and gas stations. Same fake agency name, same promise of cash, same type of girls. None of them came back. By midnight, Logan leaned back in his chair and stared at the wall. He'd seen operations like this before. Always slick, always fast. Recruit the girl. Move her once. Disappear her before the scent gets cold. But this time, they'd gotten sloppy. Leaving Maya alive meant one thing. Someone didn't follow orders. At 7 a.m., Radar barked at the window of Logan's apartment. He never barked there. Logan pulled open the blinds and saw it. Parked across the street. A white van. No plates. Tinted windows. And just like that, it peeled off. Fast! Radar growled and ran in circles. Logan grabbed his keys and badge. "They know she's alive," he muttered. "And now they know we're watching." By noon, the hospital's security had doubled. Maya's room was moved. A second officer was posted outside the hallway. The nurses were told not to mention her name. Someone had made a mistake letting her go, and now someone wanted to fix that mistake. That evening, Logan walked into Maya's room and found her sitting up. She was holding Radar's leash, gently, like it was a lifeline. When she saw Logan, she didn't flinch. She didn't smile. But she spoke. "He found me." Logan stopped cold. "What did you say?" Her voice was raspy, barely above a whisper. "The dog. He found me. I thought I was gonna die in there. But he came." Logan swallowed hard. "You're safe now." She shook her head, eyes narrowing. "No one's safe. Not yet." Maya didn't sleep much after that. Even with the blinds drawn, the hallway lights dimmed, and the nurses soft-footed around her door, she stayed awake. Eyes half open, muscles tight. One hand always resting on the curve of her belly like she was guarding two people, herself and the baby. Radar stayed close, curled in the corner of the room, eyes never straying too far from her face. Sometimes, in the quietest hours, Maya would reach out and rest her hand between his ears. Not petting, just connection, as if his warmth reminded her she was still here. Officer Logan Myers knew trauma looked different for every kid, but something about Maya haunted him in a way that other cases hadn't. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. She didn't even flinch when doctors ran scans or took blood. It was like pain had become normal, and silence, her shield. "You trust her?" Detective Graves asked the next morning, flipping through the report Logan had filled out after Maya finally spoke. "I trust radar," Logan answered. She smirked. "Fair enough." The hospital footage had picked up something else. The white van. Security cameras caught it looping the block twice around midnight, then idling down the street for 10 minutes before speeding off. No plates, no logos, just a ghost with headlights. "She saw it too," Logan said. "Didn't say a word, but I could tell. Her whole body locked up. She's been running on instinct. Survival mode." Graves nodded. "If they're circling back, it means they think she knows something, and they don't like loose ends." That afternoon, Logan got clearance to walk Maya around the hospital courtyard. She needed sun, space, proof that she wasn't still trapped behind boarded-up walls. Maya didn't say much, but she held tightly to Radar's leash as they walked beneath the sycamores. At one point, Logan motioned toward the grass and said, "You can sit if you want." She shook her head. "I'm not used to sitting outside." "Because they didn't let you?" he asked gently. "No, because I forgot it was allowed." Her voice was small, matter-of-fact, like she was talking about weather. Later, in the quiet of the nurse's lounge, Logan unfolded a map across the table. Maya stood beside him, chewing her thumbnail nervously. "Take your time," he said. "Just show me where you remember anything." She hovered over the map. Then slowly, her finger tapped near an unnamed road off Route 277. Past an old grain elevator that hadn't operated in years. "There was a red trailer," she said. "No windows, just bars on the front door. The woman, the one who picked me up, she said it was where I'd sleep. Said there were other girls, but when I got there it was just me." "What about her name?" Logan asked. "She told me to call her Tia, but she wasn't anyone's aunt." Graves ran the name Tia through local databases. Nothing. No aliases, no priors. But Logan wasn't surprised. People like that didn't operate in their own names. They used burner phones, fake IDs, and threats disguised as kindness. He leaned back in his chair and stared at the screen. "We're looking for a woman who knows how to disappear. But she made one mistake. She left Maya alive." Graves crossed her arms. "And Maya's finally ready to talk." Back in her room, Maya asked if she could see a phone, not to call anyone, but to scroll through photos Logan had gathered from various agency files, victim lists, surveillance sills, snapshots from abandoned sites. She flipped slowly, carefully, then stopped. "That's her," she said, tapping the screen. "That's the woman who picked me up at the gas station." The photo had been taken 2 years earlier during a traffic stop in New Mexico. No charges stuck. The name listed was Lucia Rivera, but fingerprints were missing, wiped from the system. Graves leaned over the screen. "We've seen her before. She ran a maid service out of Albuquerque back in 2019. Case collapsed, and girls wouldn't testify, too scared." "Looks like Maya isn't," Logan said. They brought Maya into a safer location that evening, an emergency placement shelter with 24-hour surveillance, panic buttons in every room, and undercover officers in the hallways. Radar went with her. Maya had refused to go unless he did. Logan, watching her step into the new facility, knew better than to promise she'd never be hurt again. But for the first time, she didn't look like she was bracing for a blow. She looked like she was watching for her chance to fight back. Meanwhile, Logan drove out toward the grain elevator Maya had pointed out. With Graves riding shotgun and Radar in the back seat, they followed the dirt road until it turned into little more than weeds and tire scars. The trailer was there, just like Maya said. Red, windowless, surrounded by sun-baked trash and an overturned generator. "Don't go kicking the door in," Graves warned. "We need more than suspicion." "We have a witness, a survivor," Logan muttered. "Barely." They waited. Forensics came through. Inside the trailer, they found mattresses, 4 of them, stained, torn, chains on one of the bedposts, a burner phone beneath the floorboards, dozens of numbers. most disconnected, but one still active, and last dialed just 48 hours ago. Graves traced it back to a cell tower ping just south of San Antonio. "That's where she is," Logan said. "She's not done." Back at the shelter, Maya sat on the floor beside Radar, whispering things to him no one else could hear. She rubbed her belly absent-mindedly and said, "I think he knows." "Who?" the counselor asked. She didn't answer, just looked toward the door, as if she could feel something coming. 2 days later, a break came. A call from a woman claiming to be a worried aunt said she wanted to pick up her niece from the hospital. Claimed her name was Lupe. Had all the right info. Maya's birthday, a fake ID, and even a file from CPS that had somehow been leaked. The voice was soft, sweet, but Logan knew it instantly. Lucia. The predator was circling back. They let her come, set the trap. Lucia arrived in a different car, dressed like a Sunday school teacher, hair tied back, smile sweet enough to fool a priest. She asked, "Is she okay?" Logan stood behind the glass wall, watching her through the one-way mirror. He didn't answer. Radar sat beside him. Then, low growl. Recognition. It was her. They arrested Lucia Rivera in the lobby without a single raised voice. Calm, quiet, controlled. But in Maya's mind, it was an earthquake. She stood behind the window, Radar at her side, and watched Lucia's smile finally crack. The woman looked up, straight at her. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She just stared back and whispered, "You don't win." Lucia Rivera didn't scream when they cuffed her. She didn't fight, didn't even ask why. She just turned her head slowly toward the mirrored glass in the precinct lobby. Eyes locked on it like she knew someone was watching. Like she already suspected who. Maya stood behind that glass, arms folded tightly across her chest, with Radar sitting by her feet. Her jaw was tight, her shoulders stiff. She didn't blink, didn't turn away. Lucia smirked once, just slightly, before the officer walked her out of frame. But even that was enough to twist Maya's stomach into knots. "You don't have to testify," Logan said later. They were sitting in a conference room with warm lighting and soft chairs that didn't make anyone feel like they were being interrogated. Maya stared at the file in front of her. Lucia's mugshot sat on top. No makeup, hair pulled back. That same sickly, sweet smile gone. "Yes, I do," she said quietly. Logan raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" She smiled when they arrested her, like she was still in control. Maya's voice cracked for the first time. "If I don't speak, she still wins." Radar let out a soft whine and nudged her knee with his nose. The district attorney assigned to the case was a tall, no-nonsense woman named Dana Clevenger. She'd worked human trafficking prosecutions for over a decade and had lost more cases than she cared to admit. Not for lack of evidence, but because victims were too broken to talk. But Maya was different. "She doesn't have to testify in open court," Clevenger explained. "We can file for closed deposition, maybe a video statement. She's a minor, pregnant. She has a right to privacy." "She wants to testify," Logan said. "She wants people to hear it." Clevenger leaned back, arms crossed. "She's strong, but strong doesn't mean safe." Meanwhile, Graves and Logan continued digging. Lucia Rivera was just the front. Phone records from the burner found at the red trailer connected to 6 more disposable numbers. Each one pinged towers across Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, all registered to fake names. One traced to a burner bought in Juarez just 2 weeks before Maya was found. "There's a pipeline," Graves said grimly, eyes on the map. "Lucia was just the bait. Somebody bigger's running the line. And Maya knows more than she thinks," Logan added. When they brought Maya back for another interview, this time in the Child Advocacy Center's cozy blue room with stuffed animals on every shelf, she looked more grounded. Still wary, but grounded. Logan sat beside her, not across from her. Radar lay by the door, on alert. "Do you remember any other names?" Logan asked. She shook her head. They didn't use names, only jobs. Jobs? Like driver, doctor, boss lady. Logan nodded. What about the girls? Did you see any others? Maya's eyes drifted to the window. Not at first, but later, when we were being moved. There was a girl with braids, younger than me. She had a scar on her chin, and she never spoke. Logan wrote everything down. She was gone the next morning, Maya added, and no one said her name again. The next day, Clevenger called. Lucia's lawyer just offered a plea deal. 5 years in exchange for a full confession. 5 years? Logan snapped. For what she did to a child? Technically, she's being charged with kidnapping and harboring. The rest is hard to stick without a willing testimony. Logan looked at Maya, sitting at the end of the hallway, radar curled around her legs like armor. No deal, he said. She'll get less time if it goes to trial, Clevenger warned. Then let's go to trial, Maya said from the doorway. Let them hear what she did. Training for court wasn't easy. Maya had to walk through every step again. From the gas station where Lucia offered her a cleaning job, to the cold trailer with no electricity. The rules, the threats, the hunger, the silent stares from other girls who knew better than to ask questions. Each time Maya faltered, Radar nudged her hand. Not pushing, just present, and each time she kept going. The morning of the pre-trial hearing, Logan picked her up himself. She wore a simple navy dress and sneakers. Her hair was pulled back into a tight braid. Radar rode in the back seat with her, head on her lap the whole ride. You okay? Logan asked. No, she said honestly, but I'm ready. That was more than he could ask for. The courtroom smelled like old wood and cold coffee. Reporters weren't allowed in, but a few nosy photographers tried snapping shots from across the street. Maya stood behind the witness stand, hands trembling slightly as she swore in. Lucia sat across the room wearing a beige sweater, her face expressionless. When the prosecutor asked Maya what had happened, she didn't start with the shed or the trailer or even the van. She started with the bracelet. The one my sister made me, she said, her voice steady. She told me to wear it, so I'd always remember who I was, even if someone tried to make me forget. Lucia shifted in her seat. Maya looked straight at her. She tried to make me forget, but she didn't. After the hearing, Logan found Maya sitting on the courthouse steps. The sun was warm on her face. Her hands were still. She saw me, Maya said. Yeah, Logan replied. She didn't look sorry. She won't ever be. Maya was quiet for a moment, then said, but I'm not scared of her anymore. Radar licked her hand once and lay beside her. 3 days later, more girls were found. The numbers Maya had provided, the ones she remembered from Lucia's burner phone, matched a property just outside Laredo. Inside, authorities found 2 girls, one barely 13, and another heavily drugged. Neither spoke English, but both recognized Lucia's face when shown the picture. The pipeline was real, and now it was cracking. News started picking up the story, not just about the trafficking ring, but about the girl who spoke, the girl who refused to disappear, the girl who had help from a German shepherd named Radar. A local news crew wanted to interview Maya. Logan asked her gently. She shook her head. Not yet. Maybe one day, after the baby comes. You still thinking of names? Yeah. She smiled softly. I'm thinking hope. The next time Logan visited, Maya was folding baby clothes in her shelter room. Radar was still with her, now officially assigned as a therapeutic canine under protective care. Logan leaned against the doorframe. Court date's in 6 weeks. Think you'll be ready? Maya didn't look up, just kept folding. I'm already ready, she said. Now it's time she learns what it feels like to be locked up. Radar barked once, like an answer, like justice. The courtroom was quieter than usual that morning. No chatter from the gallery, no shuffling of papers, no clearing of throats. Just stillness, like the whole room was holding its breath. Lucia Rivera sat in the defendant's chair, wrists cuffed at her sides, flanked by 2 deputies. Her eyes were narrowed, her mouth tight. She wore the same beige sweater she'd worn every hearing since her arrest, like it somehow made her look smaller, softer. It didn't. On the opposite side of the room, Maya stepped up to the witness stand. She was 34 weeks pregnant. She wore a simple white blouse. Her long black hair was tied in a braid, the same way her sister used to braid it back when they were both just girls playing in the backyard. But Maya wasn't a child anymore. She was someone no one could ignore. Radar lay beside the witness stand, alert and silent. The judge had granted a special exception for him to be present in the courtroom. Therapy dog in service of a minor victim. That's what the official form said. But everyone knew the truth. He was more than that. He was the one who found her, and maybe in some way he'd saved her. The prosecutor approached the stand slowly, respectfully. Dana Clevenger's voice was calm but purposeful. Maya, would you mind telling the court how you came to meet the woman sitting at that table? Maya glanced at Lucia, just for a second. She found me, Maya said, her voice steady, at a gas station off I-10, just outside of El Paso. I was looking at the bulletin board for jobs. She came up and said she had one. What kind of job? Housekeeping, cleaning houses. She said it was easy work, good money, and I could send some home to my little sister. And did you believe her? Maya nodded slowly. I wanted to. Logan sat just a few rows back, hat in his lap, eyes locked on the stand. He'd heard all this before, during prep, in interviews, in the quiet breaks between trauma and strength. But hearing it now, in front of Lucia, with Maya refusing to break, it hit different. It hit hard. Where did she take you after that? Clevenger asked. Maya's hands were folded across her lap. First to a motel, then later to a red trailer in the middle of nowhere. There were locks on the outside, no windows. I didn't know where I was. Did you try to leave? I wasn't allowed to. The door had a chain, and every time I asked to go home, she said I owed her. Owed her what? For food, for the ride, for keeping me safe. The room fell silent again. Only the sound of Radar's slow breathing reminded anyone to inhale. And the pregnancy? Clevenger asked softly. Did she know? Maya swallowed. She said it made me more valuable. Lucia finally looked up at that, for the first time. But Maya didn't flinch. She said people paid more for girls who were quiet, and if I behaved, she'd find me a family. Logan's hands clenched. So did Graves's. So did half the courtroom. But Maya? She just kept going. Clevenger let her finish. Every word. Every truth. Then she asked one last question. Why are you here today? Maya's voice didn't waver. Because I'm not the only one. And because I want her to know I remember everything she hoped I'd forget. Later, during the defense's cross, Lucia's lawyer tried to poke holes. You never called for help? He asked. Not once? Maya shook her head. No phone. No one to trust. They told me no one would believe me anyway. Did you ever run? I was locked in, and by the time I got out, she looked at Radar. He found me. The courtroom sat still again, like even the walls were listening. After the testimony, Maya stepped outside for air. It was spring now. The courthouse lawn was just starting to bloom, patches of green breaking through the winter's grip. She sat on a bench beneath a flowering dogwood, one hand resting on her belly. Radar sat beside her, calm as ever. Logan walked up with 2 cups of lemonade. She took one without a word. You were incredible in there, he said. I didn't shake, she said. I thought I would. You didn't have to be strong, he added. I wasn't trying to be strong, she whispered. I was just trying to be free. The trial lasted 3 more days. More witnesses came forward. Some girls had been rescued months ago, but were too scared to speak. But when they heard about Maya, they stepped up. Lucia's expression hardened with every word spoken against her. Her empire, built on fear, was collapsing. On the 5th day, the jury reached a verdict. Guilty on all charges. Kidnapping, trafficking of a minor, intent to sell across state lines. Sentence, 35 years without parole. The judge called it one of the most heinous and calculated human trafficking operations in recent memory. But Maya didn't cry when they read the sentence. She just exhaled and placed her hand on Radar's head. A week later, Maya gave birth. It was a girl, 6 pounds, 5 ounces, dark hair, strong lungs, a fighter from her first breath. They named her Hope. Logan visited the hospital that afternoon. Maya was holding the baby in her arms, swaddled tight in a pale yellow blanket. "She looks like you," he said. Maya smiled. "I hope not too much." "Why she?" "I want her to have her own story." Outside the window, the sun was warm and still. Radar lay at Maya's feet, watching the world through glass. Quiet, steady, present. Maya turned to Logan. "What happens now?" "You got a few choices," he said. "Safe housing, witness protection if you want it. You're not alone anymore." She looked down at her daughter. Neither is she. The shelter made space for Maya and Hope. A real space, a nursery. A bed with clean sheets. A door with no locks. A closet with donated clothes. Warm lights. Real food. And quiet nights. She took GED prep classes in the mornings, held Hope in the afternoons, and let Radar sleep curled at her side every night. 3 months later, the DA's office received a letter. "I used to think my story ended the day I got into that van. But now I know that wasn't the end. It was the middle. The real ending starts with Radar. With people who didn't give up. With hope. Thank you." Oh. Logan kept the letter in a drawer in his desk. Graves framed the verdict clipping on the wall in the precinct hallway. And Radar? Well, he earned a medal. But more importantly, he earned Maya's trust. And that, to Logan, meant more than any award ever could. Summer in West Texas hit different than anywhere else. The heat didn't just rise, it settled, heavy and slow, over the land like a memory that refused to fade. But that morning, as the wind rolled in from the hills and the sun crept above the horizon, there was something new in the air, a kind of peace. Logan Myers pulled into the shelter's gravel lot just after 7 a.m. The place was quiet. No sirens, no chaos, just the faint sound of wind chimes outside the nursery wing. He stepped out of his truck, tipped his hat back, and stretched. Radar hopped out from the back seat and gave a lazy bark, tail wagging. He knew where they were and who they were here for. Inside, Maya sat by the window with a baby in her lap and a notebook in her hand. She had the kind of calm face that only comes after the storm has passed. The kind that still carries shadows, but no longer runs from them. Hope was sleeping, her tiny hand wrapped around her mother's thumb like it was the only thing that made sense in the world. Logan tapped the door twice before walking in. "You writing poetry again?" he asked with a grin. Maya looked up and smiled. "Not poetry, just pieces of the story." "Yours?" "Ours." Radar walked straight over and rested his head gently on her knee. The baby stirred, but didn't cry. Maya looked down at the German shepherd, who once followed her footprints through dust and fear, and said, "She knows him. I think she always has." That morning, Maya handed Logan a manila envelope. "What's this?" "It's everything I remember," she said. "Every detail. Dates, people, places. I know the trial's over, but maybe it can help someone else." Logan opened it. Dozens of handwritten pages. Names of girls. Numbers. Fragments of conversations she'd overheard, but never dared repeat. Until now. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked. "I'm sure," she said. "Because there's another girl out there, just like me, waiting." That night, Logan met with Graves and D.A. Clevenger. They scanned the files and cross-checked several names. One stuck out. A girl missing from Tucson who matched a tip, Maya included. Within 48 hours, she was found alive, abandoned but breathing, outside a bus station in Santa Fe. She remembered her bracelet, the officer who found her said. Just like Maya. Maya started speaking at local schools. Not loud, not with a microphone, just classroom visits, quiet talks, real truth. She didn't tell everything, but she told enough. She told them how easy it was to believe someone who smiles, how dangerous it is to keep secrets for people who hurt you, and how sometimes the person who saves you isn't a cop or a teacher, but a dog. One girl in the back row cried the entire time. Another stayed after class. She asked Maya, "How do you stop being afraid?" Maya paused. "You don't," she said. "You just stop letting it decide who you are." Radar sat beside her through every visit. He never barked, never needed to. His presence said enough. 6 months later, a new center opened downtown. A transitional space for young women escaping trafficking, abuse, and family neglect. It had beds, art therapy, education, counselors trained in trauma. They named it the Hope Center. The plaque by the door read, "In honor of every girl who thought she had no voice, and the dog who reminded her she did." Radar officially retired from duty 2 weeks later. At the ceremony, Logan gave a short speech. Graves cried, though she blamed it on allergies. Maya stood in the back, holding baby Hope in her arms, smiling as the crowd gave Radar a standing ovation. Then she stepped forward and took the leash. From that day on, Radar was no longer a K-9 officer. He was family. Logan didn't stop working cases. He and Graves built a task force focused on tracking other trafficking networks along the border. Every time they cracked a lead, every time they walked into another trailer or motel or fake job site, they remembered Maya. And every time, Logan carried her folder in his glove box. Because her story wasn't just hers, it was a roadmap. Years passed, Hope turned 2. She walked before she talked, stubborn and curious, always chasing Radar through the backyard. By 3, she was asking questions, hard ones. "Why do I have 2 birthdays?" Maya laughed. "You don't. But you said I was born once and found once." Maya nodded. "You're right. Maybe you do have 2. At 5, Hope asked if she could help tell the story. Maya handed her a copy of the children's book they were working on together. Radar Found Me, written by Maya, illustrated by survivors, read by thousands of kids in schools and shelters across the Southwest. Hope turned to the last page where Radar sat under the stars beside a little girl. The caption read, "Some heroes don't speak. They just follow the footprints until they find the truth." One summer evening, Logan stopped by with lemonade and cookies. Maya was painting in the front yard while Hope read to Radar from a picture book. "She can't even read yet," Logan teased. "She's trying," Maya said. "That's what matters." Logan looked at her, really looked. The girl he found curled in a shed had grown into something bigger than survival. She had purpose, and more importantly, peace. As the sun dipped low, Logan leaned back in the porch chair. "You ever think about what would have happened if Radar hadn't found that shoe?" Maya nodded. "I do." She looked at Hope, at least once a day. But instead of bitterness, her voice held something else now. Gratitude. A strange, quiet kind of gratitude. For the moments that nearly broke her. Because they didn't. Because she lived. And because Radar followed the footprints no one else noticed. All the way home. Thank you for joining us on this journey of courage, survival, and the unbreakable bond between a girl, her baby, and the K-9 that never gave up on her. We'd love to hear from you. What moment in Maya and Radar's journey moved you the most? Do you believe animals can sense what we hide from the world? Have you ever witnessed a silent hero like Radar in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story meant something to you, please subscribe to Heroes for Animals and help us keep telling the stories that matter most. Because sometimes the quietest rescues leave the loudest echoes.